A big welcome, dear viewers, to our new and exciting story. Today we will journey to the village of Mikoloshini, following the life of Vanna, a kind-hearted girl who learned that patience, hope and love can transform even a life full of challenges. Before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss other entertaining and educational stories. Now let's begin our story. In the village of Mikoloshini, a village surrounded by thick forests, small streams of cool water and fields scattered in the distance, lived a very old woman known as Vanna. Vanna was approximately 65 years old, but she was still cheerful, wise and possessed a pure heart known to all the villagers. She had been a widow for a long time, so she invested all her later years in taking care of her 3 grandchildren, Jenny, Juliet and Vanna. The 3 of them were like day and night. They differed in every aspect, from their character and morals to their appearance. Jenny and Juliet were known as the most beautiful girls in the whole village. Their beauty was the talk of the town. Their eyes sparkled like spring water, and their hair was black and long, swaying gently when the evening breeze blew from the mountains. Whenever they passed by, the young men of the village turned and smiled, some becoming weak as if swept away by a heavy wind of love. Others even fought over trying to impress one of them. But there was another girl in the family, Vanna, the last born in the group. Unlike Jenny and Juliet, Vanna was born with an unpleasant face, as the villagers often liked to say. Her face lacked appeal, her eyes didn't sparkle like her sisters, and her lips were slightly crooked. People often looked at her with pity, others with mockery, and still others with complete indifference. Surprisingly, Vanna was not one to complain. She grew up gentle beyond measure, humble and with a compassionate heart that even her sisters had never shown. But Jenny and Juliet never showed her pity. Instead, they mocked her every chance they got. "Vanna, with that face of yours, I wonder who will ever marry you," they would say, laughing loudly, their eyes sparkling with conceit. Sometimes they would pretend to advise her, but with sarcasm. "Look how beautiful we are. You won't change even if you put on thick jelly." And a disdainful feminine giggle would follow. Vanna was often touched by the words of her 2 granddaughters. She frequently admonished them. "You girls, stop tormenting your sister. Beauty is not everything." But Jenny and Juliet merely shrugged their shoulders, not taking those words seriously. To them, the world was simple because they were beautiful. They knew everyone loved them, and people were ready to give them everything they wanted. Worse yet, the girls were lazy. They considered themselves the queens of Vanna's house. They never held a hoe, never did laundry, never ran out to greet their grandmother returning from the market. Instead, they loved only to adorn themselves, applying oils, braiding their hair, wearing beautiful gowns and going out to the village to make the young men swoon. Every household chore fell to Vanna. She was the one who woke up the earliest, often before the cock crowed. She swept, cooked, washed dishes, fetched water, did everyone's laundry, and still went to the farm and helped her grandmother at the market if she needed assistance. Sometimes, when she returned exhausted, Jenny and Juliet would greet her with words of mockery. "Sorry, mother of work. Now bring us some drinking water, we are thirsty." And they would pass by laughing as if they didn't see her as a human being who could get tired. But Vanna harbored no hatred in her heart. She never repaid evil with evil. She knew that first, her grandmother depended on her, and second, she believed God had good plans for her. She often went to sleep at night with heavy thoughts, but she never cried. She encouraged herself. Maybe beauty is not just about the face. Maybe one day I will be seen by someone who will value me. Vanna loved Vanna more than the others. She often called her into her room to offer comforting words. "My grandchild, your heart is more beautiful than anyone's face. Don't worry about how they see you. Everyone has their day in this world." These words were like medicine. Vanna continued to live, working with love, enduring every mockery, hoping that one day there would be light in the darkness of her life. But she still didn't know that her life was about to change. While Jenny and Juliet boasted of their beauty and thought they would conquer the world, Vanna, the despised and marginalized one, was set for a different destiny. All the time, even in the difficult circumstances she faced, Vanna continued to live with great hope. She knew life wasn't easy for her, not because of the many chores she was burdened with, but because of how people treated her due to her appearance. But unlike her sisters, Vanna's heart was not bitter. She was a girl who accepted her situation, and every day she believed tomorrow could be better than today. Vanna, her grandmother, was her biggest pillar. Often at night, they would sit together outside the house, watching the stars glitter above the sky of Mikulášiny village. Those stars represented hope for Vanna. Her grandmother would hold her hand and tell her, "Do not despair, my grandchild. God cannot abandon a person with a heart like yours. Everything has its time. Your sisters have the beauty of the face, but you have the beauty of the soul, and that is the beauty that lasts." These words were like an anointing oil that gave her strength. Every time she felt discouraged, Vanna would internalize them and tell herself, "If Grandma believes in me, then I will find strength." She served her grandmother with love, believing that one day life would bring her grace. But the world showed her no mercy. One day, on an evening with a pleasant breeze blowing from the forest, Vanna, Jenny and Juliet were returning from fetching water at the village well. They walked carrying their buckets on their heads, the path running through the small bushes and fields surrounding the village. Jenny and Juliet, as usual, were talking loudly about their beauty. As they reached the middle of the path, they encountered 3 handsome young men from a neighboring village. The young men were famous for their charm, their strength, and the respect they commanded at the market. They were dressed in clean clothes, a beautiful scent following them like a flower breeze. When they stopped in front of the 3 girls, their eyes were directed specifically at Jenny and Juliet, as if the world had stopped. "Greetings, ladies," one of them said in an appealing voice. Jenny and Juliet giggled flirtatiously, slowing their pace and holding their hips as if they were standing on a stage. They knew they looked good, they knew they were attractive, and they knew the young men were looking at them and no one else. Vanna, who was walking humbly behind, was not even greeted. The young men looked at her for just 1 second, then glanced away as if they hadn't seen her at all. They were not attracted to her in the slightest, neither by her beauty nor her clothes nor her small, shy smile. Jenny smiled proudly and whispered to Juliet, "Now see the difference between people. Even strangers are startled when they see Vanna." Juliet laughed out loud. "Tell me about it. Vanna herself knows she has no market value." Vanna heard every word, but she did not reply. She continued walking quietly, her eyes gazing at the ground as if she wished to sink into it and disappear. Before long, the handsome young men continued to see Jenny and Juliet frequently. They passed through the village for business activities, and every time they saw the 2 sisters, they were captivated by their beauty. The conversations increased, the laughter grew louder, and eventually, 2 of the young men were deeply attracted to Jenny and Juliet. One day, after only a short time of acquaintance, the young men went to Vanna's home, accompanied by their elders, to propose marriage. It was a great celebration. The villagers gathered to witness the important event. Jenny and Juliet were amazed to see their dreams coming true so quickly. After a brief meeting, the girls were officially engaged. Wedding discussions were planned, and within a short period they were married right there in the village. Their weddings were the talk of the town, dancing, ululations, beautiful dresses, and everyone talking about how lovely they looked. But in all the joy there was only one person standing quietly on the side, Vanna. She was not the one to receive gifts, not the one to be applauded, not the one to be thanked. Many people passed by, looking at her with pity, others with mockery. As Jenny and Juliet were leaving to go to their husbands' homes, they turned to Vanna and looked at her with a scornful smile. "You, Vanna, will grow old here with Grandma. No man will ever come to marry you." Then they laughed as they rode on the motorcycles that took them to their husbands. Those words were as sharp as a knife heated by fire. They cut deep into Vanna's heart, but as usual, she did not cry in front of them. She turned slowly, walked back inside, and hugged her grandmother gently. Vanna read her eyes without asking. She placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Don't be sad, my grandchild. Everyone has their time." And that is where Vanna's heart found strength. Despite the pain she endured from her sister's words, Vanna's patience and hope never dried up in her heart. She believed that life was a long journey with mountains and valleys, and even when she was hurting, she gained strength by remembering her grandmother's love. For Vanna was her whole world, her strength, her comfort, and her closest friend. Vanna, on her part, continued to encourage her. "My grandchild," she would say often, "your heart has a light that many people cannot see. When your day comes, everyone will know your worth." These words were full of wisdom and love, making Vanna continue to stand firm even when the world pushed her to fall. The household chores continued to be numerous, but Vanna never complained. She believed that serving her grandmother was a blessing, and every time she saw her grandmother smile while eating the food she cooked, she felt she had done something more meaningful than facial beauty. One day, on a very calm evening, the sky was covered in an orange color adorned with rays of white clouds. Vanna took her bucket as usual and headed to the river to fetch water. The wind blew gently, playing with her skirt, and the sound of the water hitting the stones proclaimed the tranquility of the Mikulášiny environment. When she arrived at the river, she drew water and placed the bucket aside to rest for a moment. Her daily trip to the river was her time to breathe, think, and clear her mind. She often watched the water flowing and told herself, "If this water does not stop, then I will not allow myself to be stuck." As she was deep in thought, her eyes were drawn to something shining by the riverbank. The evening light was cast upon the object, making it sparkle as if it had a soul within. Vanna lifted her head and focused her gaze on it. It was a small, extraordinarily beautiful stone, colored in a mix of deep blue and glittering specks like diamonds. It was unlike any stone she had ever seen in that river. She approached cautiously, bent down, and touched it with her fingers. It was smoother than other stones, as if it had been polished with oil. She picked it up, felt its weight, and the smell of the river mud mingled with the evening breeze that passed on the other side. "It is so beautiful," Vanna whispered. She didn't know why she wanted to keep it, but it attracted her in a strange way. For the first time in many days, something made her smile genuinely. She placed it inside her wrap kanga and lifted the bucket of water onto her head. As she walked back home, she occasionally glanced at her wrap to check that the stone was still there. There was something unexplainable that drew her to it. When she arrived home, her grandmother welcomed her with a smile. "You are back early today, my grandchild," Vanna said while leaning on her cane. "Yes, Grandma, the water was closer today," Vanna replied, although she didn't mention anything about the stone. She felt she still needed to understand it before telling anyone. After resting for a bit, she went into the kitchen and started cooking, as was her routine: ugali, leafy greens and beans. Vanna loved watching her grandchild work. She often used to say, "Your heart cooks food that tastes better than any spices." They sat together on the floor and ate while talking about their day. Despite her tiredness, Vanna felt good being close to her grandmother. Their love was filled with a unique calm and respect. After the meal, Vanna took the dishes and washed them, then helped her grandmother go to sleep. After making sure her grandmother was sleeping safely, she went into her room, holding the stone carefully. She examined it under the dim light of the kerosene lamp, where it shone as if it were breathing. She placed it on the small table beside her bed, got under her blanket and took a deep breath. There was something unusual associated with that stone, but she couldn't understand it yet. She rested her head on the pillow, and slowly her eyes closed. The next morning was quieter than usual. Birds sang cheerfully outside the window, and a gentle breeze blew softly, playing with the curtains of Vanna's bed. She slowly opened her eyes, stretching as she felt her body recover from yesterday's fatigue. She felt good enough to smile for no reason, perhaps because of the beautiful stone she had placed beside her bed. She made her bed and started heading out of the room, but as she stood in the doorway, her eyes widened in sudden astonishment. The house was clean beyond description. The floor had been swept and mopped, everything was sparkling as if someone had spent hours tidying up. The table was clean, the dishes were neatly arranged, and a lovely aroma of food reached her room. "Grandma?" Vanna whispered, her voice filled with great surprise. She stumbled forward and moved to the kitchen. On the stove, food was already cooked: hot ugali, beans cooked in coconut milk, and ginger-flavored black tea. It was clear that someone had done a lot of work that morning. Vanna held her head with one hand. There was no one else who could have done all this except herself or her grandmother, but she had woken up late, and her grandmother was far too old to wake up that early and do so many chores. Without wasting time, she ran to her grandmother's room, calling out worriedly, "Grandma! Grandma!" Vanna slowly lifted her head, her eyes still sleepy. "Vanna, what is it, my child?" she asked in a gentle voice. "Grandma, did you clean today? Did you sweep? Did you prepare the food?" Vanna asked with astonishment that shook her body. Vanna laughed a little. Me, Vanna? I can't even stand without my cane. How could I have done all that? I just woke up now. I only just smelled the tea. Vanna stood silent for a few moments, her heart racing. But Grandma, all the chores are done. Everything is ready, she spoke in a voice of wonder. Vanna looked at her granddaughter for a long time, trying to figure it out. Well, maybe you did it last night and forgot, she said, assuming perhaps Vanna was tired and forgot. But Vanna remembered clearly she hadn't done anything last night. She went to bed early, exhausted when she lay down. For a while, she remained quiet, wondering deeply. When she went to the table to eat, she kept staring at every neatly arranged item, but there was no answer. However, the wonders did not end there. The next day, when she woke up again, she found the exact same situation. The house was perfectly clean, food was ready on the table, and every chore that needed to be done during the day had been completed in the morning. No one was seen doing the work. Nor did she hear any sound during the night. When the third day came, she found things already done again. And the fourth day. And the fifth. It was then that she began to realize something strange. All these changes started on the day she picked up that beautiful stone by the river. Before then, the house relied on her for everything. But since the stone arrived home, all the chores were being done as if by an invisible person. It's impossible, Vanna whispered in disbelief. She looked at the stone, sometimes hiding it, sometimes turning it over in her hand, trying to understand. And as the days went by, her anxiety grew deeper. There was something unusual about the stone, something that went beyond the boundaries of ordinary village thoughts. She was used to seeing miracles only in her grandmother's stories, not in real life, but now she was living them herself. Vanna was greatly astonished. Every day she continued to remain silent, her mind filled with deep questions. Who was doing the work? Why? And why did it start on the very day she found the stone? Since the day the household chores began doing themselves, Vanna's heart had never settled. As the days passed, her anxiety only grew. Sometimes she wondered if perhaps a family spirit was helping them. Sometimes she thought someone was entering the house at night without her knowing. But the more she tried to find answers, the more the riddle deepened. Finally, she decided she was tired of living in the dark. She wanted direct answers. One night, after finishing dinner with her grandmother, she went into her room with a firm resolve. She placed the stone beside her bed, very close to her hand. Then she lay on her back, closing her eyes slightly, observing through a small corner of her eyelids like someone sleeping but still watching. Her heart beat at an unusual speed. The night was intensely quiet. A silence that would normally scare her, but today she was ready to break that fear at any cost. She didn't want to sleep. She wanted to see who was doing those chores, whoever or whatever they might be. Minutes passed, turning into hours. The wind blew outside, gently tapping the window. Dogs barked in the distance. Vanna continued to resist the sleep that was trying to capture her. Just before dawn began to break, an extraordinary event occurred. Suddenly, the stone began to tremble slightly, as if something inside it wanted to break free. Vanna could see it through her half-closed eyes. She slowly opened her eyes wider, without moving her head at all. The stone lifted slowly above the bed, extremely slowly, as if it had a soul. For a few seconds, it glowed with a faint blue light. Vanna felt goosebumps on her skin. Then the light intensified, surrounding the entire stone like a moving white mist. Then the transformation began. The stone started to expand, taking the shape of a human. Slowly, arms formed, legs appeared, a face gradually emerged like a person being drawn before her eyes. Finally, a beautiful young man stood there, beautiful beyond description. His skin glowed like the dawn light, his hair was black, and his eyes had such an incredible charm that Vanna felt a stutter even without speaking. His smile was serene, captivating, and held an inexplicable secret. The young man looked around Vanna's room, but did not notice that Vanna was awake. Then he slowly moved towards the door and opened it without making a sound. With unusual dexterity, he left the room. Vanna was extremely shocked. Her heart leaped as if it wanted to escape her chest. She remained silent for a few seconds, her mind so confused that she didn't know whether to fear or be astonished. But fear won, though it was a fear that was less powerful than her need to know. Quickly but silently, Vanna opened her door and slipped out. She walked cautiously, ensuring every step made no sound. She was following the young man without him knowing. Vanna continued to follow the young man slowly, her eyes witnessing everything with unparalleled astonishment. When the young man reached the yard outside the house, he began working as if he had been accustomed to it for many years, but with extraordinary skill. He swept the yard with miraculous strength, arranged firewood, did the laundry, and washed all the dishes Vanna had left the previous evening. He didn't take long to do the chores. As if everything was too easy for him, Vanna stood behind the door, watching him with wide eyes opened in wonder. Every minute she spent watching the event, the more she felt that the world was not the one she was used to. As soon as the young man finished, he stood still and looked at the sky like someone waiting for a specific time to pass. Vanna felt her heart leap. She didn't want to be seen. Quickly and cautiously she went back into the room, rushed to her bed and covered herself with her blanket as if she had been sleeping all along. Her body was trembling, her heartbeat racing unusually fast. She had never witnessed anything so miraculous in her life. She tried to close her eyes, but the image of the young man doing the difficult household chores remained in her mind like an indelible mark. Minutes turned into hours, and as dawn approached, her room door opened quietly. Vanna closed her eyes tighter, wanting to appear asleep. The young man entered silently. The faint light of dawn penetrated through the window, illuminating his beautiful form for a few seconds before it began to change. Starting from his fingers, hands to his face, his whole body began to return to the shape of the stone. A blue light crawled over his skin, making every limb hard and smooth like river stones. Finally, he lay right there on the bed, once again the attractive stone that Vanna had picked up by the river. This confused her even more. She felt fear surrounding her in a heavy cloud. Her heart pounded, her mind filled with unanswerable questions. Who is this? Why is he in my house? Why is he hiding? Nevertheless, the days continued to pass, and every day the young man maintained the same routine. At night he transforms, he does all the chores, at dawn he returns to being a stone. As the days went by, Vanna's fear did not diminish. Instead, it gained new strength every time she woke up and saw the chores completed, every time she touched the stone and felt an unusual warmth, and every time she remembered the young man's face the moment he transformed. One day, after several days dominated by heavy thoughts, Vanna was tired of living in a state of uncertainty. She longed to know the truth. She wanted a clear explanation without hidden faces or miracles. She wanted to understand who he was and why he was secretly involved in her life. That night, she lay down in bed without sleeping, waiting for the young man to change his form as usual. When the time for his miracle arrived, the stone began to glow and the transformation started as it normally did. A moment later, the young man stood before her, more beautiful than ever, his eyes sparkling with the faint light of the night. This time, Vanna was not afraid. She gathered all the courage she had, stood up in bed, and said in a trembling voice, "I want to know who you are." The young man was startled. He turned slowly to look at Vanna. For the first time, their eyes met face to face, without a veil of secrecy, without Vanna hiding. The young man let out a deep smile, a smile filled with gentleness and profound emotions that Vanna could not interpret. But, despite the smile, the young man did not have the courage to answer. He lowered his gaze, took a slight breath, his face showing the weight of something he wanted to say but that would not come out. Vanna felt her heart stop. She knew the answer she needed was close, very close, but it continued to remain under heavy silence. Will Vanna finally get the answer she seeks, or will the young man remain silent? Vanna stood there, her eyes fixed on the young man who held a secret greater than she had ever imagined. A heavy silence dominated the room, turning into a burden that weighed down on both of them, but Vanna did not give up. She refused to allow the young man to continue hiding behind his miraculous form. "Please tell me," she said again, this time in a calm but firm voice. "Who are you? Why are you here and why are you doing all this for me?" The young man closed his eyes for 2 seconds, as if battling difficult decisions in his heart. Then he slowly opened them again, looking at Vanna with eyes filled with surprise, gentleness, and a certain dependency on kindness. He looked like someone who had hidden the truth for so long that continuing to conceal it had exhausted him. Finally, his voice came out, a calm, beautiful, soft, and hopeful voice that Vanna had never heard in her life. My name is Albert," he said gently. "The young man who truly loves you." Those words pierced directly into Vanna's heart, making her gasp as if she had been holding her breath for a long time. She felt a heavy weight lift from her chest. Her face turned into an expression of amazement, and certain intense feelings thrilled her entire body, a mix of fear, relief, and wonder. But before she could utter a word, Albert continued to speak as if he had decided to reveal everything. He asked Vanna to sit on the edge of the bed. Then he began to narrate his history, in a voice that conveyed pain and hope at the same time. "Many years ago," he began, "I lived as an ordinary young man in a village very far from here. I was a quarryman, and one day I found a valuable stone that I had dug out of an ancient rock." He paused slightly before continuing. "I didn't know it at the time, but that stone was enchanted. It was governed by a family curse, which stated, 'Whoever desires it selfishly shall turn into a stone with incomplete life.' And I desired it." Here Albert lowered his eyes, as if remembering something painful. "When I touched the stone with greed, I was cursed. I would only perform people's chores at night, appearing only for a few years in the lives of those with pure hearts, but remaining a stone all day long. I was told that if this secret became known to more than one person, I would turn into a stone forever, unless a girl with a pure, selfless heart knew the secret. Then I would be cured." Vanna looked at him with compassionate eyes. The explanation was not easy to believe, but the tenderness of his voice, the sadness in his eyes, and the pure soul that was now completely visible, convinced her. Albert slowly raised his eyes, taking Vanna's hand. "I met you by chance. You picked up the stone with a pure heart. You cherished it without greed, without pride, without seeking profit. And your heart, it drew me out of my curse more than anything else. I have been helping you not just because of the curse, but because I love you." Those final words made Vanna tremble. For the first time since she was born, someone saw her for the worth of her heart, not her face, not her beauty, not her appearance. For the first time, she felt truly seen. From the day they spoke openly, Vanna's life transformed. Their secret remained a secret. Night continued to be their time to talk, laugh, and live the lives worthy of lovers. In a short time, Albert began to rebuild Vanna's house. In just a few days, the flimsy mud house that leaked wind turned into a large, modern home, with smooth floors, a strong roof, and a wonderful light. Vanna and her grandmother began to live a life of comfort. They no longer lacked food, they no longer lacked happiness, and they no longer lacked hope. They had everything they needed, but above all, Vanna had something she had never found in her life: true love. After Vanna began to live a life of comfort and luxury with Albert, the situation in her family started to change in a way that no one expected. Her sisters, Jenny and Juliet, who had settled and married in the village, lived difficult lives. Their husbands were harsh, restless, and often failed to care for their families. This stressful life situation brought immense jealousy into the hearts of Jenny and Juliet, who now saw Vanna getting everything she needed without much effort. They ended up thinking, bitterly, that life was unfair, and that Vanna had emerged with extraordinary luck. Their jealousy was not hidden. When they saw Vanna getting everything, a beautiful home, daily food, happiness, and the love of a handsome and wealthy young man like Albert, they felt intense resentment. They often criticized her with bitter words, or tried to belittle her without success. But Vanna, contrary to what they might have wondered, did not allow jealousy or mockery to become a part of her heart. Instead, she continued to love them. Whenever they needed help, Vanna did not hesitate to assist them. She knew their envy stemmed from difficult living conditions and heartache, not from a desire to harm her. She organized shared meals, sent clothes for help, and even offered life advice without complaining. This behavior showed that a pure heart and true love do not contradict love for others, even if they seem indifferent or jealous. The villagers were surprised to see Vanna continue to be kind, despite her sister's mockery and scorn. Many had already forgotten that the girl had once had an unattractive face. Now they saw her having everything one could need in life, as a true example of patience, resilience, and a pure heart. Vanna became a role model, and her character made her continue to hold the respect and love of everyone around her. Time passed, and the rhythm of life became joyous and calm. The fears and anxieties of the past were replaced by days full of smiles and joy. Vanna and Albert worked together to build a beautiful home and family, strengthening their relationship and ensuring their lives were free from hardship. This brought great respect and peace, not only to them but also to her grandmother Vanna, who had never enjoyed such a peaceful life. Finally, the time came. Vanna and Albert got married, demonstrating eternal love and unity. Their wedding was a great celebration in the village, and everyone witnessed their happiness. The modern house, the food cooked with love, and the smiles of Vanna and Albert spread boundless joy. The entire village stood in awe. They had not expected that a girl with an allegedly unattractive face like Vanna would find a young man as handsome, wealthy, and deeply loving as Albert. This situation made the villagers witness the beauty of a pure heart, patience, and unyielding hope. Many learned that true beauty is not judged by the face alone, but by the heart and character. Vanna's life was filled with happiness, peace, and prosperity. She was ready to help others regardless of their jealousy or mockery, transforming the narrative of how love and a pure heart can bring great success. Albert and Vanna began to live happily ever after, leaving behind a village history that testified to a humble woman who seemingly had no chance, but emerged as a hero of real life. In the glow of the morning sun, Vanna smiled, knowing that patience, endurance, and a pure heart can never be defeated. Every day was a reminder of her incredible journey, from scorn and mockery to becoming the girl chosen by luck and true love, and enjoying an unparalleled life. Thus, the village of Micoloszini witnessed the amazing story of Vanna and Albert, a story that would be protected by eternal memory in the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for joining us until the end of this exciting story. We have journeyed through Vanna's life, witnessing how patience, hope, and a pure heart can change a life, even when the world seems to be filled with injustice and obstacles. The lesson of this narrative is that true beauty is not seen in the face alone, but in a person's heart and character. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss other captivating stories like this one. We look forward to meeting you again next time for another inspiring and educational tale. All the best, and remember, patience and a pure heart always yield good fruits. Goodbye, and I love you all very much.